Welcome back. You're still watching All Angles here on ENCA. Let's take you to this story again. The city of Cape Town is appealing for donations following the devastating fire that destroyed over 200 shacks in Langa. Over 1,300 people now are homeless since Saturday evening. Our reporter Ronald Masinda is standing by at the informal settlement in Langa to give us the latest. Braronza, usually when we cover such stories, you find that even 2 days later, because of the fact that the people there have nowhere else to go, they're still trying to pick up whatever they can. What's it looking like right now?
Yes, well, good morning, Maseko. Well, Joslov Informal Settlement has been a hive of activity this morning as hundreds of displaced residents are still trying to pick up the pieces following those devastating fires. Food parcels and other items have also been distributed to the needy. Many people need food. They also need shelter during this time. A lot of the people that we've been hearing from have also not even made their way to Cape Town, given that there was also Easter weekend where many of them reside in areas like the Eastern Cape. But we are expecting many more donations to come. I am joined now by one South African leader, Musi Maimane, to tell us more. Sir, you've been part of this program providing food parcels. Just tell us, give us a sense of the scene that you came to.
Well, I think yesterday can only be described as a great tragedy. As we watched, literally where people told me that this is where they used to live and all you could see was the strings left from the mattress. It tells you the extent of displacement. It tells you that people have lost IDs. It tells you that people have lost books for kids, so they can't go to school. And many of the shacks that were there have burnt down yesterday, literally without anyone in there, fortunately, because everyone had gone away. So there's a whole string of people who are returning today who are going to discover that their entire livelihood is gone. I think as a human being, it must offend Ubuntu Betu when we look around and we see the tragedy that is upon us.
And even if we look around, I mean, we're looking at electric wires that are just hanging around. And I mean, it's a dangerous situation for any human being to live in. In terms of government, you've made remarks that we are led by a reactionary government. Tell us more.
Certainly. I think that, one, let's recognize the fact that you cannot urbanize by just simply building more and more informal sectors. It just doesn't work like that. The truth of the matter is that our government hasn't done enough planning in terms of spatial planning. We don't do enough around making sure that we do rural development so that citizens have got services so they don't have to move easily to want to move to urban centers just simply to find healthcare, education, etc. Furthermore, we must be able to create in our spatial planning places where people can work, live and play, and that must be the focus of cities like Johannesburg, Tshwane, Cape Town and eThekwini. And furthermore, we must ultimately ensure that even in the building of structures, we build structures in communities that retard fire. But our government doesn't seem to want to prepare for it. And one of my great fears is that winter is coming, where at the end of that winter period, we're going to end up with more fires.
All right. Some may argue that this has been a long-standing issue, not only with the government, national government, but also the provincial government, a government that you also once led as a DA leader. What did the DA do right for the people of the Cape of the Western Cape?
I keep challenging, and it's one of those issues that I think that were legacy issues. When we came in and we wanted to fight hard to say, guys, we can't live in a tale of two cities. We can't live in Cape Town for one affluent communities and a Cape Town for poor people. We ultimately, that's why I left to build One South Africa, to say if we're going to win as a country, we must realize that the suffering of the people of Kwalang is the suffering of the people of Constantia, etc. And until we think like that, whether it's in the DA or not, we're not going to win. So that's the fight I'm waging at the moment to say we must, when we think of South Africa, recognize that all of us are affected by all of our challenges.
The city of Cape Town has also maintained one of the biggest issues is the issue of land invasions. We've seen it exacerbated during the COVID-19 pandemic. As a leader yourself, how would you advise people to stop occupying land illegally?
Well, I think it's a collective suffering, because when people invade land, no city can be able to deliver those services to those people. So But what we must do is deal with the issue of law and order. It's important for us to recognize that land invasions are not just taken by ordinary citizens. Our intelligence recognizes the fact that there are syndicates who arrive, they set up land invasion, they put up structures overnight, they depend on our laws to say no one can be moved off a place, and then ultimately they then lease out the land to the people in some of the most illegal ways. So ultimately we must deal with the issue of criminality, we must ensure that we enforce laws, and cities must partner with provincial and national government to ensure that when we allocate land for housing, that the very people who are on lists can be allocated those houses, so that we stop this culture where people effectively skip the line by invading the land without actually going through the proper processes of applying for housing. Until we do that, this is always going to be a repeated pattern.
Lastly, we've seen so many of these shack fires take place throughout the Western Cape. What is a long-term solution?
The long-term solution is that we need to create an immediate plan now. We need to bring all structures together. We need to act now to talk about urbanization, to talk about urban spatial planning, to ensure that we allocate titles so that people can actually build for themselves, because that's what citizens want. We need to develop rural communities so that ultimately people don't have to move for other reasons other than aspiring for new opportunities. And further than that, we need to ensure that we eliminate corruption in the housing sector, so that when we build houses, no one can skip the housing list, and that ultimately the processes are fair for all South Africans.
All right, that was Mr. Musimaimani, leader of One South Africa. He's one of the people who've handed out donations here. We are also expecting a gift of the givers to be here just after 12 o'clock.
All right, Ronald Masinda, let's leave it there for now. He is in Langa, where a fire has left about 1,300 people displaced now.